Hey, it's Tony Zazza. Welcome back to my kitchen for another edition of Foodie Fridays. I'm super excited about this one. I think I say that every video, but this one I'm really super excited about. I'm a huge pizza fan, and pizza fans are very passionate about their pies. Some like the New York style thin crust, and if you've ever been to Chicago and had their deep dish, which is absolutely delicious, Chicago style fans are uber passionate about theirs as well. Tonight, I am in the mood for Chicago style deep dish. I happen to like them all. It just depends on what mood I'm in, but tonight definitely in a mood for Chicago style deep dish, and we're going to do it on the big green egg. It's going to be a two-part process. We're going to do the crust first because Chicago style deep dish crust is a huge part of making this pie as traditional as possible. So we'll start there, then we'll work on the fillings, and then we'll throw it on the egg for a delicious dinner. So if you're ready, let's get this going. So as I mentioned in the opening, this is going to be a two-part process. We're going to start with the crust, which is a very important piece to the puzzle when it comes to Chicago style pizza because they do their crusts a little bit differently, especially since it's actually going to be cooked like a pie, hence that's where the name comes from. And anything that I'm showing you, I'll point out the things that can be purchased either locally in Melbourne at Wassey's Meat Market or via their website, which is wasseysmeatmarket.com. Don't worry, the link is down below in the description. Here's what we're going to need for the crust. You want some fast-acting instant yeast, some butter, cornmeal, about 4 cups of flour, some olive oil, and then this is one of the items that you can get at Wassey's or on their website. It is a big green egg deep dish pizza stone. So let's get this process started. It's a tad bit tedious, but again, the crust, a very, very important part to pulling off a Chicago style pizza. Here is what our ingredients look like for the crust measured out. That's 4 tablespoons of flour, 3 tablespoons of yellow cornmeal, 1 3/4 teaspoons of salt. We have 2 3/4 teaspoons of instant yeast, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 4 tablespoons of melted butter, and 1 cup plus 2 tablespoons of lukewarm water. Now, if you have a mixing bowl or a bread machine, you're going to be a lot better off than I am. I have neither, so this is all going to have to be done by hand. We'll mix the ingredients up first, and then I'll start to hand knead them, and then we'll have a nice dough ball to take the next step with. So let's mix these together. Just going to get it started with the spoon. And then we'll take over with the hands here in a second. And we'll start to hand knead it. Once you get it nice and kneaded into a bowl, you're going to transfer it to another bowl that's been lightly oiled. We'll just set it in there. We're going to cover it and let it rise for about 60 minutes. So while our dough's rising, we're going to start to prepare the filling. There's a couple things we've got to cook in the ingredient list, but let's take a look at all the ingredients. You want 3/4 pound mozzarella sliced. You want 1 pound of Italian sausage or hot sausage. I got a link of each, and I'll take those out of the casings and cook them and crumble them down, so it'll be kind of a mixture of both, which will give it a little kick, but not like if it was full-on spicy. 28 ounces of crushed tomatoes. About 4 garlic cloves. We want those to be minced before we use them. A tablespoon of sugar is optional. You want about 2 teaspoons of pizza seasoning, 1 cup of freshly grated Parmesan, or you can use Asiago cheese, and then we'll drizzle the top with olive oil once we're at that stage. So next step is going to be cooking the sausage. Now that the sausage is all nice and brown and crumbled, we're going to go ahead and go set the egg to 425 degrees on indirect heat with our convector and get that ready for the crust. So our dough's rising, the sausage has been cooked, and the egg is now being prepped for 425 degrees indirect heat using the convector. And we're going to go ahead now and prep our stone. You're just going to spray it with some vegetable oil spray, and then about 3 or 4 tablespoons of olive oil. And you just want to move that around and up and down the sides a little bit, and then let it sit until we get to the next process for the dough. After the dough was done rising, I then rolled it out into somewhat of a circle. And you want to take it and put it in the pan in your stone and get it all nice and situated like that. And then once it's in the pan, you want to let it sit for about 15 minutes. And then I'll tell you what to do next. So the crust is set now for about 15 minutes. We're just gonna go along the perimeter. So the camera just cut off on me, but what I was saying is once you've let it sit for 15 minutes, cut along the edges to give it a nice clean look. And then it's ready to go on the egg. We're gonna put it on the egg, just the crust, for 15 minutes. And while we're doing that, we're gonna prep the filling, and we are getting very close to enjoying the Chicago style deep dish pizza. So the egg's ready, and we're gonna just put the crust on to get it going. And then we'll get the filling going while that's happening. All right, so while the crust is getting ready, we're gonna go ahead and start our filling. There's the garlic. We're gonna do a tablespoon of sugar. I use sugar in the raw. And then 2 teaspoons of our Italian seasoning. This is a half teaspoon, the other one's dirty. There we go. And now we're gonna mix that up. And let it sit until the crust is done pre-cooking. And then we'll start to assemble this pizza. So the crust has been on the egg for about 10 minutes or so. And we're gonna put these all the way around along the base. I may have cut some of them a little too thick, but that's all right. They'll melt when they start cooking. So now we've layered the bottom with all the mozzarella. Next, we're gonna add the sausage. Spread the sausage around. Now the tomato sauce. And you want to spread this out so it evenly coats the bottom of the pan. Let's go around it with a spoon like that, and it should coat just perfectly. Next is the pepperoni. Got these nice big pieces. And we'll do the same thing we did with the mozzarella. And then we're going to sprinkle the top with the Parmesan. And then we're going to drizzle the top with olive oil. And I'm going to add just a tad bit more of the Italian seasoning. And back on the egg for 25 minutes, or until it's bubbling. Alright, so the egg's ready for it. Just going to set that bad boy right in the middle. 25 minutes at 425. And we should be good and ready to eat. So our pizza's been on for about 25 minutes. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, that looks good. We're gonna take it off and let it sit for 15 minutes and let it cool down a bit before we serve it. So our pie's off the egg. You can see the steam coming off it if you look closely. We're gonna let it sit for 15 minutes and then we'll start to serve. There it is, all cooled off, and now it's time to cut into it and grub. So now the real test. There it is. Look at that. It's still steaming hot. Look at that cheese hanging off the side. Let's give it a taste. See how it turned out? And I've had Chicago style pizza in Chicago, some of the finest restaurants. So I know what I'm up against. This is delicious. All right, I'm gonna go eat. I'll put all the information you need and where to get it down below with the ingredients and the directions. And until next week, see ya.